Welcome back, everybody, to the TV show. I'm Jay Black, joined as always by Angelo Capote, and the now even more dazzling Rhea Hughes. Just finished getting her braces off, and she looks fantastic.
Thank you. Very excited.
And there's so much to smile about this week because, TV is back. A lot of shows premiering. I noticed that CBS all during the Super Bowl was saying it's premiere week at CBS. I guess they're launching their fall schedule. But before we talk about anything at all, I want to talk about the Super Bowl. It got the highest ratings in history. 123 million people watched. That number spikes to 200 million if you count just anybody that was watching. Rhea, I know you have big numbers that you've been tracking on this. So What did you find out about this?
So the New York Post said that 58.8 million women watched the Super Bowl, which is the most ever, and a 9% increase from last year, and that women made up 47.5% of the total audience, which was the highest, with the previous high being in 2015, and that was Patriots Seahawks. And they also got a massive boost in younger demographics. And we know that they're all attributing that to Taylor Swift. I mean, the women numbers have been high for a long time, over 40%, but 47.5 is their highest ever record number.
And I could just say, honestly, from my own anecdotal evidence, I had a whole bunch of my daughters and their cousins sitting there. Every time Taylor Swift appeared, they cheered. This was the Taylor Swift Super Bowl.
Do you want to know how many seconds total she was on TV for the entire Super Bowl?
Oh, give us an over-under. Let's guess.
Oh, okay. Over-under 45.
45 seconds.
Believe it or not, it's under.
I'm going to go over just so that I can fight Angelo.
Jay is right. It was 54 seconds.
Wow, it was. Yes. 12 separate shots. And I thought it was the right amount to cover the story.
Yeah.
I loved it. They did not get live when she chugged the beer, which I really thought was cool.
Me too. Yes. Love that.
I love that whole story. I'm sorry. Call me a hopeless romantic, Jay. It is Valentine's Day as we record this. I just want people to understand. I love that story that made the game even more exciting for me.
Yeah, I understand that probably MLB, NBA, and NHL are currently having meetings to figure out which massive star can date their massive star to get these kind of numbers.
So what do we think? I thought Tony Romo was abysmal. I tweeted out at one point, he said, that's a big play there. And I just said, only for $18 million a year, you're going to get that kind of insightful analysis. He had a rough game to call because that first half was so boring.
Abysmal,
Yeah, I think when it's really boring like that, your personality needs to carry it. Angelo, did you think he handled it well? Because you're a big Tony Romo.
I'm going to defer to Rhea first here because I think I'm going to have an alternative point of view on this. Go ahead, Rhea. What do you think of Tony Romo?
Here's what I will tell you, and I noticed this immediately in the first half, and it wasn't that the first half was boring, that it had much to talk about. The president of CBS, Andrew, is that Sean McManus?
Yes.
Is that still him?
Yes.
He actually said this is a big game for Tony.
Right.
I heard a different Tony Romo in that first half of the game. He wasn't, Jim, he was more modulated.
Right.
He was more calm. He wasn't yelling over Jim. He had a couple things where I said, that's ridiculous. But I also thought he picked up on one play. He goes, on the critical play where they threw to Rashid Rice when there was the blitz, he goes, it's really not that complicated. You throw to where the blitzer is vacated. I go, Nick Sirianni, I hope you're watching this. I didn't think he was terrible, and I think they worked with him.
I'm going to go even further. So, Jay, you're against. Rhea's kind of in the middle, and I'm going to tell you he had the best game he's had in at least 5 years.
Yeah. I
think Rhea's right. They refocused him. So even though the first half was bad, he wasn't bad. You go back, Jay. I defy you to go back to the fourth quarter at overtime and listen to how play after play. That was as exciting as any game I've ever watched where I didn't have a rooting interest because I hated both teams. But he kept you in the game. He was right there. He was giving you the thinking play by play through the fourth quarter and overtime. and then he ruined it.
Yes.
Final play.
Yes.
Here's the thing. The guy was pitching a shutout. He was having his best game in years. And then when the play that defines the game, the final play, he's yelling and screaming for 30 seconds. It's not working. Andy Reid into it. Andy Reid, not the story. Their Patrick was the story.
100%. Yeah.
He kind of undid a lot of what he did because the last play that defines, it gives you the answer to who's winning the Super Bowl. You got to let that breathe. That's got to breathe, Jay.
Yeah, agreed. I think I will say, I think he was probably talked to by a whole bunch of people about, hey, you got to focus up. But yeah, it's just, well, that's the story of Tony Romo's career. Get to the playoffs and then mess it up at the end, right? I mean,
fumble it at the end.
Fumble at the end. That's
right.
I will say, I thought CBS's presentation of the game was wonderful. I was a big fan of that. I don't watch nearly as much football as you guys, but the high overhead wire camera, I don't know if that, I know that they've had the behind the quarterback camera for a long time, but the 3/4 up where you could see the entire thing, it looked like almost like game film camera, was new to me. At least I don't know if that's been around for a while. Am I missing something? Has that been?
They have it. They don't use it in every game. It's probably a financial, like you're not going to use it for the Jets and whatever other stinky team there is out there. So.
But I found that to be very interesting and educational as to what's going on, so you could watch the whole field at the whole time. But I thought it was a great presentation. Angelo, did you think so?
Yeah. Here's the thing: from kickoff to final play, it was really well done. I thought CBS nailed it. Pre-game, I think it was like 17 hours. The pre-game show, it was excruciating. And I just want to make this point because it's getting out of control. Most of their pregame, which was 5 hours or so, were 6 guys sitting at this long table.
Stop.
6 guys is too many for any panel. Do you understand? Somebody is not talking most of the time when 6 guys are there. And J.J. Watt, who's new there, he didn't know the protocol. He just kept babbling. On. And frankly, the last time Bill Cowher's made a comment that
oh my God,
he was on.
Who dressed him? Who dressed him?
He's terrible. Yeah. James Brown is kind of robotic and stiff. I don't care for him very much. The 2 guys on the corner, the 2 quarterbacks, Boomer and Phil Simms, they're pretty good, but
they're solid. Yeah,
once they got to the game, though, they were really good. Yeah, I thought they were really good. The anthems, all that stuff. I wasn't in love with the ads, but the halftime show is. I'm not a fan of Usher, but it was pretty damn impressive.
Here's what I will tell you about the Usher halftime show, because I am an Usher fan.
Yeah,
it was too slow. He was lucky that who was it? Jay, was it Lil Jon and Ludacris?
Lil Jon, Ludacris. Ludacris got a big pop when he came out.
Yeah, they saved him. And when they decided to insert roller derby into it, I thought that made it interesting. But the songs were too slow. Like I think, to me, Bruno Mars did it best. He sang, he danced. It was high energy. The Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. You've got to have high energy. Like I had a friend who was at the game. They were very upset with all the commercials. They said the breaks were really long. They said it was really kind of dead in the beginning in the stadium. So I didn't think it was one of their better halftime shows.
I would say the best halftime show of all time, and I will fight anybody who says different. Prince, 2007 was the best all time. He is an all-timer. He's great.
That was because there was a phallic moment where they had.
I knew you were going
to. And then he used the guitar like you know what, and he was wielding it.
And that's Prince in a nutshell, baby.
Yes.
That's Prince. He is wonderful. Hey, real quick about Bill Cowher. I told you I wrote jokes for Bill Cowher once, right?
You did?
Yeah, I got hired to write jokes for the Boomer Esiason roast. And I had to get on the phone with Bill Cowher and pitch jokes to him. And it was like pitching jokes to a brick wall. I've never heard silence as deafening as that on the other line. Just
humorless. He is not entertaining. He is humorless. He and Jimmy Johnson both need to leave.
It's time to retire, guys.
Broadcasting, you stink at it.
Did you? All right, so I want to just talk very briefly. We talked about the expansive Taylor Swift expanding the people watching it. And they also had a SpongeBob telecast that ran on Nickelodeon. And I know that sounds super silly, but I think it's a move of brilliance by the NFL and by CBS, who have a kids channel, to get the voices of SpongeBob and Patrick and to make the game into a cartoon for 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds that maybe not are as interested in the sport. I think that builds the sport up. It makes kids interested in the game. They create lifetime fans. And I'm just wondering, how come Major League Baseball, who the average age of a Major League Baseball fan is 139 years old, hasn't embraced this 100% to try to get kids to watch? I know you probably didn't watch it, but did you think it was a smart move, Rhea? Was that something you enjoyed?
So we actually, when the game was so boring in the first half, we actually contemplated turning the channel. I said, all right, maybe we'll get something interesting out of this. But I did watch a lot of the highlights. Like, I loved how they didn't refer to Travis Kelce as Travis Kelce. He was Taylor Swift's boyfriend. I thought that was funny. But here's where I thought the brilliance of it was. Say you have, a lot of people have huge, Super Bowl parties. And a lot of times you got kids there.
Yeah.
You could have the main TV with the main broadcast on, and you've got, we got SpongeBob, and you're going to be able to watch SpongeBob for like 3 hours. And maybe it's a brilliant way. If you hook the kid for a half hour or an hour and he goes, well, this kind of looks like a fun game. Clark's kind of on the other side now. He's watching the game with me because he's almost 15. But I'm telling you that he is a massive SpongeBob fan. That would have worked for him when he was 4, 5, and 6.
You agree, Angelo?
Yeah, I got to tell you, Jay, I'm not a cartoon fan.
Right.
Yeah.
But because you gave us this assignment, I went back and watched the highlights of the SpongeBob show. The reason the other sports aren't doing it is they're not creative enough. This was creative. Yeah. Their rules analyst was Dora the Explorer.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. All right. I thought the touchdown effect they had.
Yes.
The end zone, the slime zone.
Yeah.
And it was special effects in it. That was amazing. That made a touchdown more exciting. And I got to just give a second here. Nate Burleson.
Oh, my God.
Nate Burleson. How is he doing this? All right. Nate Burleson did the pregame show on CBS, jumped over, did analysis with Noah Eagle during the SpongeBob broadcast, jumped back at halftime, jumped back in the booth, and was on the next morning, 1:30 or 2 o'clock Eastern time, to do the CBS morning show. That guy's Nate Burleson is everything that Michael Strahan is not.
100%.
Does everything well. And Strahan wasn't even on Monday's Good Morning America, Rhea, even though he didn't do half of what Burleson
He didn't do the show.
did.
Nate Burleson should literally give classes on how to do broadcast post-career.
Yes.
He has been good at everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Great on TV.
Yep.
And it's so ironic to me that Stray had so much of a bigger name. And Nate Burleson is so much better. So much better. Yep. But you know what, Jay? Thumbs up for the SpongeBob show. How about that?
I'm saying this right now. MLB, if you're listening, talk to your partners at Apple or whatever and do something similar, because you need to get the young fans. And between SpongeBob and Taylor Swift, the NFL made 10 million new fans on Sunday, and they're only going to continue their dominance. All right, so let's switch gears here. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, Rhea, because I know that you're probably not as big a fan as the political stuff.
I'm not.
Yeah, as I am. But I was so happy to see Jon Stewart back on my television screen on Monday night. Angelo, did you watch? Were you impressed? What'd you think?
I watched every second of it. And I'm going to tell you something. As great as the Super Bowl was, the 20-minute monologue that Jon Stewart did on his return to the Daily Show Monday night was the highlight of TV this week. It was so brilliant.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. You had Jon Stewart back in his realm. Not all the other stuff he did, which was not Jon Stewart. This is Jon Stewart.
This is him.
Facial, the pauses, all the different things he does, scribbling on the paper before he comes out. It was like this old friend came back and hadn't watched the thing. I couldn't help but apply it to myself and go, if I went back today and did a show with Rhea, would I be
Yeah.
able to do it as well as I did a year ago, let alone 8 or 9, however long it was for John? And I wouldn't be able to. He nailed it first time out. Now, the interview kind of took something away from it. It wasn't as good, but
No.
it never was as good with Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
He had the moment of zen at the end. John, I'm telling you, Jay, that guy there is so damn good. It made you realize how bad Trevor Noah really was while he lost 70% of Jon Stewart's audience.
So I'm just going to say a couple things. One is, does he have the claim to be the smartest man on TV? Could he? Top 5 at least, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just brilliant all around. I'll tell you who I felt the worst for watching it was Seth Meyers on because I've been using Seth Meyers A Closer Look. I realized as a methadone to the heroin that is Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart does this particular thing, talking about a subject to the camera better than anybody has ever done, probably better than anybody ever will. And Seth Meyers is really good. I like A Closer Look. I enjoy those little 10-minute political analyses that he does, but it's not even in the same ballpark as what Jon Stewart does. And I know
he's a genius, Jay.
Yeah. I know a lot of Democrats were mad because he both sided it, but he always did that. He was always critical of both sides.
Phenomenal job. I loved it. It's on demand. Go to Comedy Channel and check it out. If you don't think this is brilliant on the spot comedy, a lot of this was tied in with the last 2 days, and he did it all and he nailed it. What a job by Jon Stewart.
Great job. Great times are had, but not as great as when we do the British segment on the TV show. Rhea, what do you got for us this week?
So it's called The Real Manhunter. Now, I have reviewed, you guys know it's one of my all-time favorite shows, Manhunter, season 1 and 2, starring Martin Clunes. It's a dramatization of 2 of the most famous cases in all of Britain, the Levi Bellfield case and the Night Stalker. This is the actual detective. It's Detective Colin Sutton. It's 3 seasons. I didn't know it existed. I was kind of flipping around and I was looking for something over the weekend. And it's basically his cases. Now, he starts off with the 2 we know, the 2 I just mentioned, Bellfield and Night Stalker. And it's him and his real detective team talking about it. And you would think it would be kind of dry, but it was really good. It goes through his 30 years. So there's all these other cases, which I'm praying they'll take and do more series of Manhunter, which I love. What was really interesting about it is we see all of these detectives as these hard-boiled, mean. They've all got some horrible thing going on in their life. They're an alcoholic, whatever. There's always kind of stuff. This guy is described by everybody as genial, loves to work with people, just works within a team. And so, I always wondered why Martin Clune was cast as him. After watching him, I thought it was brilliant because they cast him perfectly. A very smart guy, but a guy who, Angelo, we always throw the word around, the Eagles love to throw around, collaborative. This is why this guy was able to solve some of the most amazing cases. That in the case of the Night Stalker, that case went on for 20 years. Wow. He got on the case, and within 6 months, he had solved it. That's how brilliant this guy is.
Where can we see?
So it's also on Prime, so you can watch The Real Manhunter. You can also watch the dramatization Manhunter, which is 2 seasons, but The Real Manhunter is 3 seasons, 8 episodes, and it's just the real detective going through his cases. And it's for somebody like me who's into that, it's really good.
Sounds great.
And I know that we talked a little bit before we started, and I am very excited about your teen pick because I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and Angelo said he was going to watch it, so I'm interested to see if he actually did. What's your teen pick?
So, unfortunately, Clark was sick. He was fine for the Super Bowl. Woke up Monday morning sick as a dog. They didn't have school, luckily. He was going to miss school yesterday because he was still sick, but the snow came, and so he sat and couldn't do anything Monday. He was too sick. He binged Ted, the prequel, all day long yesterday and flat out absolutely loved it.
Love that.
The movies were raunchy. this one, because obviously it's the prequel, so he's a 16-year-old high school student, very close in age to Clark, who's almost 15. The talking teddy bear. I could hear like he was so sick on Monday. He slept all day. I could hear him laughing from his bedroom. So he absolutely 100% loved it.
And
that's Hulu, right, Rhea? Hulu.
Yes, on Hulu, and it's 90%.
actually, I think it's Peacock. It's Peacock.
You're right. I'm sorry. Sorry, Peacock.
Okay.
90% on Rotten Tomatoes for critic reviews. But if you're going to be sick in bed all day and you're a teenager, then you should binge Ted. Clark said it made him feel better.
Did you actually wind up checking that out, Angelo?
I certainly did. When I'm assigned stuff, Jay, I do it. And, I watched the original Ted with Mark Wahlberg. My expectations here were not high, despite your recommendation. It's really funny.
It really is. Yeah.
The actual teddy bear is amazingly funny, and it's just funny hearing this stuff come out of his mouth that you wouldn't expect to hear.
No.
It's great. It's really a good watch. I recommend it again. Now, here's twice I've said nice things about stuff I normally don't like, which is animated teddy bears. And but you were right, Jay. It's a good watch.
And the kid's good, right? The kid playing Mark Wahlberg.
It is really good.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought so, but that kid is good too. It defied something I never would have checked out. But Jay Black knows his television, my friend. Right. He was right.
The Monster Mash discussion on the Halloween episode, among the funniest things about something I've heard probably 5,000 times and never thought about. Such a good show. You got to check that out. But Angelo, what do you got for us this week? What do
I'm going to throw this at you, Jay. You tell me what these women have in common.
All right, I'm ready.
Jessica Lange, Naomi Watts, Diane Lane, Demi Moore, Callista Flockhart, Molly Ringwald, and Chloe Sevigny. What do they have in common?
A special place in teenage Jay mind would be one.
They're all has-beens.
Right.
They're
okay.
People,
wow. I almost spit my water.
Rhea did a spit take. They're all past their primes because in Hollywood, they're mostly movie stars. Yeah. In Hollywood, when you reach the age of 40, they pretty much stop writing stuff for you.
Sure.
Well, somebody wrote season 2 on Hulu of Feud, right? The first season was Joan Crawford and Betty Davis. Sure. This one is Truman Capote and his Swans. Yes. And it's the story of Truman Capote, a historically great writer who basically befriended all of these socialites in the 1960s, learned all their secrets, and then wrote about it. He wrote a magazine article in Esquire that upended their lives. Wow. And it's the story of what they did after he, basically betrayed them. It is really good. The reason it's good is it's so catty. First of all, here's the thing. It's the same. Every one of them smokes like a chimney.
Yeah.
My God, the smoke. I cough when I'm watching it. But to see these women, all of whom had great careers, Molly Ringwald, I was surprised she was still alive. I didn't know she was still around. They all chew the scenery. They're all over.
How is Demi Moore? Because she hasn't been in anything in a long time.
Demi Moore looks amazing.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
She didn't age. She looks amazing. Callista Flockhart, I hadn't seen her since Ally McBeal. And she's married to Harrison Ford. She doesn't have to work.
Right.
She looks amazing. Diane Lane is ageless.
I'm looking at her right now. She's 59. She sold her soul to some sort of demon. There's no possible way she's 59.
Naomi Watts, who has the biggest part, she's Bill Paley's wife. She's like the ultimate socialite. She's amazing. They're all great. It's a great story. By the way, I can't leave out the guy who plays Truman Capote, Tom Hollander.
Oh,
let me look.
All I knew about Truman Capote was his appearances on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. And I'm telling you that Tom Hollander becomes Truman Capote. He's got a very unique style of talking, and it's kind of high-pitched, and it's great. You will love it. I promise you, if you just start it, you will keep going with it. Unfortunately, you can't binge it. They give you one a week. It's
I
going
hate
to
that.
be a while. And it's on Hulu, and it's really, really good. Feud Season 2.
I am watching that this afternoon, Angelo. I
There
will
you
talk
go.
about it next week. I'm looking forward to it.
You love it.
All right, what did we talk about this week? Angelo, what do we got?
Here's what we got. We did mostly Super Bowl, and you could always see that if you watch. Just go to what's CBS? It's Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, yeah.
Get that. The Daily Show. If you want to see what we were talking about with Jon Stewart, it's on demand. Just go to Comedy Channel. You'll get or Comedy Central, and you'll get it. The Real Manhunter. 3 seasons of this on Amazon Prime. Ted is on Peacock. And Feud Season 2 is on Hulu.
Thank you very much, Angelo. Angelo Capote is the author of the book Loud, which you can get at angelocapote.com or Amazon.com. And I'm told, can we talk? Is there an audiobook coming up, Angelo?
There's not only an audiobook coming out, is that been recorded. Apparently, they did not have to do any retakes.
Wow.
So they have already prepared a cover. I did not even know there was a cover for audiobooks. It will be out shortly. I will let you know when. If you would like to hear my voice stumble through my own book, it will be out in audiobook form very soon.
You got to go check that out at angelocapote.com. Rhea Hughes and her beautiful new teeth. Thank you so much. You look fantastic.
Wow. Wow. That is really dazzling. Good job.
Special thanks to Jared Clapper, who does all of our production and social media. You're doing a great job, Jared. And please, if you like us, review us, talk to your friends about us. We've been growing every week, and we need you to help that continue to happen. We'll be back next week with more TV show. Thank you, guys.